So we were just talking about the fact that if Ivan hadn't made that temper tantrum with the chest beating, chest thumping, Julia may never have figured out that that was a puzzle that could go on the billboard. That was quite a coincidence. I wonder what the chance is of her figuring that out, or instead thinking it was just a bunch of separate pictures. What do you think, Roxy? You look so intrigued and so excited, right? Yeah. She's actually been having a good nap. So here we go. Reading 16 already. We're almost at the end of the book. We have just this part left. So we're getting there. This is kind of an exciting reading again today. It's like, whoa. So the first subtitle is called A Star Again. A photo of my billboard is in the newspaper. Mac tapes the story onto my window. Each day, more curious people arrive. They park in front of the billboard. They point and shake their heads. They take photos. They come into the mall and buy my paintings. While visitors watch, I dip my hands in fresh buckets of paint and I make pictures for the gift shop and pictures to add to the billboard. Trees with birds, a newborn elephant with glittering black eyes, a squirrel, a blackbird, a worm. I even paint Bob so he can be on the billboard too. I can tell he likes the picture, although he says I didn't quite capture his distinguished nose. Every afternoon, Mac and George add my new pictures to the billboard. People slow their cars while they work. Drivers honk and wave. My gift shop pictures now cost $65 with frame. Next subtitle is called The Ape Artist. I have new names. People call me the ape artist, the primate Picasso. I have visitors from morning till night, and so does Ruby. But nothing's changed for her. Every day at 2, 4, and 7, Ruby plods through the sawdust with Snickers on her back, and every night she has bad dreams. Bob, I say after I've soothed Ruby to sleep with a story, my idea isn't working. Bob opens one eye. Be patient. I'm tired of being patient, I say. Next subtitle is called Interview. This evening, a man and woman came to interview Mac, also George and Julia. The man has a large and heavy camera perched on his shoulder. He films me as I make my pictures. He films Ruby in her cage with her foot roped to the bolt on the floor. Mind if I take a look, he asks. Mac waves his hand. Be my guest. While Mac and the woman talk, the cameraman walks through the mall. He pans his camera right and left and up and down. Listen to this. When his eyes fall on the claw stick, he stops. He trains his camera on the gleaming blade, and then he moves on. Wow, what do you think? The next subtitle is called The Early News. Mac turns on the TV. We are on the early news at 5 o'clock. Bob says, don't let it go to my head. There we are, Mac, Ruby, me, George and Julia, the billboard, the mall, the ring. And listen to this, and the claw stick. Next subtitle is called Signs on Sticks. Signs on Sticks. In the morning, several people gather in the parking lot. They're carrying signs on sticks. The signs have words and pictures on them. One has a drawing of a gorilla cradling a baby elephant. I wish I could read. So here's what the protesting pictures show. There we go. The subtitle is called Protesters. More people with signs come today. They want Ruby to be free. Some of them even want Mac to shut down the mall. In the evening, George and Mac talk about them. Mac says they're protesting the wrong guy. He says they're going to ruin everything. He says, "Thanks for nothing, George." Mac stomps off. George, holding his mop, watches him leave. He rubs his eyes. He looks worried. "Dad," Julia says, looking up from her homework, "do you know what my favorite sign was?" George asks, "Which one?" "The one that says elephants are people too." George gives her a tired smile. He goes back to work. His mop moves across the empty food court like a giant brush, painting a picture no one will ever see. Next subtitle is called Check Marks. A man, a tall man with a clipboard and a pencil, comes to visit. He says he's here to inspect the property. He doesn't say much more, but he makes many checks on his paper. He looks at my floor, check. He examines Ruby's hay, check. He eyes our water bowls, check. Mac watches him, scowling. Bob is outside, hiding near the dumpster. He does not want to be a check mark. The next subtitle is called Free Ruby. Every day there are more protesters and cameras with bright lights. Sometimes the people carry signs shouting, "Free Ruby, free Ruby." "Ivan," Ruby asks, "where are those people yelling my name? Are they mad at me?" "They're mad," I say, "but not at you." A week later, the inspecting man comes back with a friend, a woman with smart dark eyes like my mother's. She has a white coat on and she smells like lobelia blossoms. Her hair is thick and brown, the color of a rotten branch, teeming with luscious ants. She watches me for a long time, and then she watches Ruby. She talks to the man. They both talk to Mac. The man gives Mac a sheet of paper. Mac covers his face. He goes to his office and slams the door. Wow. What is that all about? The next subtitle is called New Box. New Box. Wow. Something strange is happening. The white-coated woman is back with other humans. They place a large box in the center of the room. It's Ruby-sized. And suddenly I know why the woman is here. She is here to take Ruby away. Next subtitle is called Training. The woman leads Ruby to the box. She places an apple inside. "Good girl, Ruby," she says kindly. "Don't be afraid." Ruby inspects the box with her trunk. The woman makes a clicking sound with a little piece of metal she's holding in her hand. She gives Ruby a piece of carrot. Each time Ruby touches the box, she gets a click and a treat. "Why is she making the clicking sound?" I ask Bob. "They do that to dogs all the time," Bob says. I can tell he doesn't approve. It's called clicker training. They want Ruby to associate the noise with a treat. And when Ruby does something they want, they make that noise. Great job, Ruby," the woman says. "You're a quick study." After many clicks and carrots, she takes Ruby back to her cage. "Why is that lady giving me carrots when I touch the box?" Ruby asks me. "I think she wants you to go inside," I explain. "But there's nothing inside," Ruby says, "except an apple." "Inside that box," I say, "is the way out." Ruby tilts her head. I don't get it." "See the picture of the red giraffe on the box? I think the lady's from the zoo, Ruby. I think she's getting you ready to take you there." I wait for Ruby to trumpet with joy, but instead, she just stares at the box in silence. "I'm not sure you understand. That box might be taking you to a place where there are other elephants," I say, "a place with more room and humans who care about you." But even as I say these words, I remember with a shudder the last box I was in. Ivan said that, yeah. "I don't want a zoo," Ruby says. "I want to be with you and Bob and Julia. This is my home." "No, Ruby," I say, "this is your prison." The next subtitle is called Poking and Prodding. The lady comes again. She brings an animal doctor with an awful smell and a dangerous-looking bag. He spends an hour with Ruby poking and prodding, and he looks at her eyes, her feet, and her trunk. And when he's done with Ruby, he enters my cage. I wish I could hide under Not Tag like Bob. Instead, I do a nice loud chest beat, and after a moment, the doctor retreats. We're going to need to put this one under, he says. I'm not quite sure what he means, but I strut around my cage, feeling victorious anyway. Next subtitle is called No Painting. No one asks me to paint today. No one asked Ruby to perform. There are no shows, no visitors, unless you count the protesters. Mac stays in his office all day long. Next subtitle, this is kind of cool. More boxes. Wow. I wake up from the long morning nap. Bob is on my belly, but he isn't asleep. He's watching the ring where 4 men are placing a large metal box. It's me sized. What's that? I ask, still blurry from sleep. Bob nuzzles my chin. I believe that box is for you, my friend. I'm not sure what he means. Me? They brought in a bunch of boxes while you were sleeping. Looks to me like they're taking the whole lot of you, he said, casually licking a paw. Even Thelma. Taking? I repeated. Taking us where? Well, some zoo probably. Others to an animal shelter where humans will try to find them homes, Bob shakes himself. So I guess all good things must come to an end, huh? His voice was bright, but his eyes are far away and sad. I'm going to miss your stomach, big guy. Bob shuts his eyes. He makes an odd noise in his throat. But what about you, I ask. I can't tell if Bob's just pretending to sleep, but he doesn't answer. I gaze at the huge shadowy box and suddenly I understand how Ruby feels. I don't want to go in that box. The last time I was in a box, my sister died. One last subtitle. Goodbye, it's called. Woo. When George and Julia came that night, George doesn't get his mop or his broom. He gathers up his tools and his belongings while Julia runs to my cage. This is my last night, Ivan, she says, and she presses her palm to my glass. Mac fired my dad. Tears slipped down her cheeks. But the zoo lady said maybe they'll have an opening there in a while, cleaning cages and stuff. I walk to the glass that separates us. I put my hand where Julia's is, palm to palm, finger to finger. My hand is bigger, but they're not so very different. I'm going to miss you, Julia says, and Ruby and Bob. But this is a good thing, really. It is. You deserve a different life. I stare into her dark eyes, and I wish I had words for her. Sniffling, she goes to Ruby's cage. Have a good life, Ruby, she says. Ruby makes a little rumbling sound. She puts her trunk between the bars and touches Julia's shoulder. Where's Bob anyway? Julia asks. She looks around, under tables, in my cage, by the trash can. Dad, she calls, have you seen Bob? Bob? Nope, George says. Julia's brow wrinkles. What's going to happen to him, Dad? What if Mac shuts down the whole mall? He says he's going to try to keep it open without the animals, George says. He stuffed his hands in his pockets. I'm worried about Bob too, but he's a survivor. You know what, Dad? Julia gets a gleam in her eye. Bob could live with us. Mom loves dogs and he could keep her company, and Jules, I'm not even sure I have a job yet. I may not even be able to feed you, let alone some mutt. My dog walking money. Sorry, Jules. Julia nods. I understand. She starts to leave and then turns back to my cage. I almost forgot. This is for you, Ivan. She slips a paper into my cage. It's a drawing of Ruby and me. We're eating yogurt raisins. Ruby is playing with another baby elephant, and I'm holding hands with a lovely gorilla. She has red lips and a flower in her hair. I look, as I always do in Julia's pictures, like an elegant fellow, but something is different about this drawing. In this picture, I am smiling. Whoa! That is the end of this reading. Woo! It's getting exciting.